Some of you work the room. It's an amazing thing. I wonder where you learned that. All right. I'm dangerously close to just going off the rails, so we'll see what happens. I don't drink a lot of coffee these days, and I notice that when I do, I have this enthusiasm for life that I haven't experienced in a while, so who knows, right? So, Gary, welcome to Utah. There's, it's an interesting thing. When you visit Planet Utah, there's some terminology. Big love is one of them, and testimony is another. Just be aware. If you see him twitch, that's what's going on. It's all good. So I'm grateful to be here today. We've been living boldly. How does it feel to live boldly? Good? You loving your life? You grooving on it? Yes. There's something so wonderful about living the powerful, authentic life. Listening to that divine voice within us, letting go of all the should voices that are running around in our heads. I know you have those too. And just kind of honoring who we are and that divine impulsion that we all feel to live the authentic, loving, compassionate, fulfilled life. So we've been looking at some themes around that of what does it mean to live boldly and how we want to pray deeply, which is to say we want a deep spiritual practice. We want to recognize we need to spend time with the divine. If you were ever in a relationship and the only time you ever got to hear from that other person was when they needed something, you'd be like, I'm not sure this works for me. And sometimes I think we treat our relationship with the divine like, got it, I'll take it from here until I'm in trouble again, and then I'm all over it, right? So it's a wonderful thing to just practice deep spiritual meditation, prayer, visioning, affirmation, all these tools that we developed. We looked at the idea that we need to forgive freely, that we need to let go, that we need to choose love over all other options. We looked at I don't know what else we looked at. We looked at a bunch of stuff. I only wrote the book. I don't remember any of it, really. Practicing and forgiving and all that sort of thing. So today we come to my favorite topic ever. Yes. And so here's what I want to say to you from the deep inspirational well that I hold in my being. And that is, I want you to give up hope and stop trying. Yay, huh? Yay. The audacity of not hoping is what my next book will be, right? So what do I mean by this? You see, one of the things I know it's easy to do, I want to talk about living powerfully. And what I discovered is that my power, it comes from my ability to recognize and make powerful choices. And the truth is, I am at choice all of the time. All of the time. Now, I know there's a mentality that feels like we are at the effect of the world. And so I want to be careful here. I want to be careful because this talk is not designed to induce guilt, but it may. But rather to look at this deeper metaphysical understanding of how life works. You see, when people come into the teaching, they hear some new concepts. I remember early on hearing a speaker talk about we're not victims, we're volunteers. And I thought, ooh, it's a little harsh in a way, because sometimes there are things that are happening in our lives that are outside of our control, absolutely outside of our control. And so sometimes people get a little tied up in this whole creative, I'm a co-creative being, I create everything in my reality. It's just not so. Life happens all around us. And sometimes things happen that we have absolutely no control over. However, what we do have control over is us, is our ability to respond to what is happening in our world. So I want you to hear this in the proper context. I remember hearing people say that, we choose our parents. We choose our life. We do. I don't know. I'm not so convinced. I don't see like this other dimension where you go and you look at the menu of life and you choose from column A and column B and column C, right? And that's the life you have. I don't buy it. However, I do believe there is a soul's contract, as Carolyn Mace talks about. There is a soul's contract that as we move into a lifetime in this physical dimension, in this human form, that is going to be fulfilled for our highest soul's journey. And so at some level, there is this agreement we make with life that when we come to this planet, we get to experience the fullness of who we are, if we awaken to that. If we don't, then we don't. So in looking at this idea of choosing wisely, it's important for us to recognize that our true power comes from recognizing we are at choice. Years ago, I was studying I was working with teenagers. Yes, teenagers. Real live, lots of them at one time, which is a fascinating thing. And those of you who are enjoying the PSDT, is that right? No, PTSD, which is post-teenage stress disorder. If you're enjoying the post-teenage thing, but you've been through it, you're like, yeah, that was a really exciting time. I'm so glad we both survived, right? Nobody died, thank God, right? Although there were moments, right? Teenagers are a fabulous and wonderful thing. It was a really exciting time to work with these kids, but a friend of mine and I created a program to empower teens. We were hearing a lot this phrase called youth at risk. And we decided that we wanted to help to change the mentality, and we created a program called Youth at Choice. And we designed it in such a way that we had a very playful weekend of looking at how do we do life and allowing teens to be in this environment and to be creative and play some games and look at this. But the simple message, it's very simple, and it even applies to adults. It's so good it even applies to adults, that we move from powerlessness. Sometimes we feel powerless in our lives. We feel like circumstances are outside of our control or things are happening to us. What I watched with teenagers particularly was they had a lot of people telling them how they should live their life. And they had a lot of people telling them what they should do and what they should not do. And they even had people who were enlightened saying, here's the choices you should make, right? But that word should says, here's my opinion, now live accordingly. So we really designed this program to allow these young people to look at their own capacity to make choices. The hardest part about facilitating that program was to get all the adult helpers to not move into telling the kids what they should do with their life, to step back and just listen and allow and support. So the idea was that we move from powerlessness by exploring the options in front of us. And when we can look at the options and we start to work from a level of possibility, then we can make choices, and then we can become powerful. When we are at choice, we are powerful beings. So some of us say things like, I have to go to work. I have to make my mortgage payment. I have to do this. I have to do this. And just feel the energy of the have to mentality. It feels very victim-y, doesn't it? Poor me. I was going to practice my skills in terms of manipulation with people, but I decided not to. I decided to go ahead and give the empowering talk and message today, right? Because I could say, you have to do this, or you don't have to do that, or whatever, right? There's not a great energy about that. So when you find yourself in that place of saying, I have to do this, or I have to do that, simply changing it to I choose to. Some wise soul once said, there's only two things in life that are certain: death and taxes. And I have to pay my taxes. Well, the truth is you do not have to pay your taxes, right? Now, there's some consequences to not paying your taxes, but you don't have to. You see, when we start to get that concept, so we would work with teenagers and we say, why are you here? And they're like, my mom made me come. I'm like, cool. So your mom, what, tied you up, held a gun? How did she get you here? Well, no, but if I didn't come, I was going to be grounded. Okay, so that's a powerful choice. You chose to be in this rotten room with this weird guy with the ponytail. That was ponytail days. Or be grounded. Okay, thank you for making a powerful choice. Now, what are we going to do here? How do you choose to show up for the experience, right? So when we move into that mentality, when we recognize that moment by moment, we don't necessarily get to choose everything that shows up in our experience, but we can be at choice as how we respond to it. This idea of choosing forgiveness. You can just as easily choose to be angry and bitter. It's fine. It's just a choice. But what the challenge that I will share with you is it's your choice. Somebody didn't make you angry and bitter. Some part of us responds from that level. Now, I've done it. Do it. Okay. I was really wanting to say that was behind me, but I go there. And then I just recognize, really, is that the choice you want to make right now, Marty? Right? And then I can choose again. I love that because I realize that's where my power lies. I've spent a lot of years trying to get life to be different, trying to get people to be different, trying to get situations to be different. And it finally occurred to me somewhere along the line, what you can have any degree of control over is you. How do you choose to show up? So I want us to look at this idea of giving up hope. Because you see, so often what we do is we approach our lives and we say, gosh, I hope I meet somebody. I hope I win the lottery. I keep saying, I am very open to winning the lottery. I think that would be very fun. I would like to write that tithe check right up front and then just have a ball. Utah makes it a little more difficult because we only have one, so it's not that convenient, but right? But I'm not planning my life strategy around winning the lottery, right? And some people, whether they're playing that lottery or whether they're playing the lottery of life, are saying, gee, I hope some good thing will happen in my life. Rather, we have the opportunity to give up hope and just get on with it. And that's where we get to be in the place of choice. Do I choose to bring this into being, or do I choose not to? So that leads me to my other favorite thing to talk about, is stop trying. Either do or don't do. Right? Now, I tried for a long time to lose weight. And those of you that knew me at the beginning of the year knew how very successful I was about that. 50 pounds later, still trying. I was fat, not that dumb, and not that happy, right? So then I said, well, maybe that strategy, hoping for it, trying for it, is not going to get it done. It's about the commitment to the goal, and it is about the discipline to choose to do the things necessary to get the job done. Now, are you feeling guilty yet? This is a tough crowd. This is a tough crowd I work with, Gary, I know. So,
I'll loosen them up for you.
Okay, thanks. No, I don't want to do that. But you just realize it's a very powerful thing when we move to the place of understanding where we say, I either choose to or I choose not to. And get okay with the choice. It's your choice. But rather than that, sometimes what we want to do is we want to blame. I would have the life I want if my husband, wife, spousal unit of whatever kind would only be different. I could have the life that I want if the economy was better. I'd start this business, but the economy is so whatever. I would be a singer, but da-da-da-da-da. I'd be a writer. It's like either do or don't do. It's a powerful choice. I love making powerful choices. I love it. When people say to me, no. Now, I didn't always love that. I used to avoid it. That's why I developed all kinds of wonderful techniques to manipulate. Right? Because I didn't want you to say no to me. So rather than just ask you a direct question that you might say no, I'd find some really clever and manipulative way to get you into yes. The problem with that was I still got to know. Not in your word, just in your behavior. Right? Because a non-committed yes is not a yes. So that's why when I learned this powerful thing that there's only really two options, yes and no. Even Jesus spoke to this. Let your words be powerful. When we say yes, the universe responds to that clarity and conviction if it's true. If we say no, we eliminate distractions so that our yes can be powerful. Have you ever had somebody say yes to you and later found out they didn't mean it? How annoying is that? Right? The time and the energy, and then if you're good at it like I was, then you can be all mad at them. I can't believe people would say, I'll do it, and they didn't do it. Because clearly, I never did that. I never did that. No. Right? So I'm just saying, so when somebody says, when I ask a question now, and I often preface it by saying, listen, I'm going to ask you something. Here's your options, yes or no. I'm good either way. I love you no matter what. Our love is unconditional. However, if you say yes, then I feel like I have the right to hold you accountable to your yes. So if you need some time to think about this, I would encourage you to do that. So then when we get to yes, it's powerful. It's meaningful. It's relevant. It's in integrity with who we are. And so likewise, if you say no, we're in integrity. We both know what to expect now. I love you. I support you. Get out. No. Go on. Enjoy your life. Because now I can go find somebody that will say yes. You know, what I've discovered was true for me and for so many people is we're not good at no. We're not good at saying it. We're not good at hearing it. I had a friend that shared with me, she said, you know, I was so bad at saying no that I married the guy. How well do you think that marriage worked out? Right? Didn't love him, but he asked. You know, I always love these big screen Teletron things where the guy's going to ask the girl to marry him. Oh, that's nice, right? That's a sweet, lovely way to do it. Your options feel a little limited. The whole baseball stadium watching you. What's she going to say? Right? So anyways, my friend says, you know, figured that out in my first marriage. I had another friend say to me, I was so bad at saying no that I bought one of those really expensive Kirby vacuums. And we had no carpeting. So I've been thinking about that. I love this series. I want to do this series called I Was So Bad at Saying No, you know, and then the consequence. Isn't it better just to learn to say no? So what we learn to do instead is say, well, I'll try. So I'm telling you, give up trying, right? You can try and lose weight or you can lose weight. You can try and run or you can run. You can try and stand or stand. You can try and sit or sit. You see, so I keep saying, I'm trying to stop saying try. I know, brilliant. Some work that got to be done here, right? But when we're in that place of power, when we get who we are, and we get the whole energetic piece, you know, the masters are teaching us throughout the ages that there is a power at our disposal, and that it is responsive to our intention. So when we say, Jesus said, let your yes be yes or your no be no. When we say, well, maybe, right? What does the universe do with that? It produces confusing results in our life. But when we get clear on our yes, and we allow it to be a whole-bodied, enthusiastic yes, then the whole universe responds, and it is then that seeming miracles occur. It is then that people appear out of places we hadn't expected, that circumstances come together that we hadn't expected, all kinds of things to come together for our highest good. And our friends, loving, supportive, loving friends will say, oh, you're so lucky. Yeah, thank you. Right? It isn't luck. It is intention that looks like luck when we're clear. Likewise, when we say no to the distractions, when we say no to the shoulds, because all of us carry around a certain list of shoulds with us, don't we? Who we should be, how we should act, da, 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 da. When we can begin to say no to that and yes to who I am, then all manner of things begin to come together in ways that we would have never expected. I've watched it over and over and over in my life. So I'm inviting you, quit trying. Just choose yes or choose no. It's, one of the things that I learned. I used to have this list of things to do. Anybody have a list of things to do? And some of those things are things you're being called to do. And some of those things are things you should do. Go through and cross off the should do's. Just cross them off. You can be complete. I'm done. I know, you're going to go into therapy over this right now, but just stay with me. It's a concept, right? But what if my garage doesn't get clean? Well, 25 years, still not clean. It's okay. Another 5 ain't going to kill you. Right? Right? Because that's what we do. We carry this thing, then we say, well, I'm going to do that. Where is it on your calendar? Well, I haven't really. I'm going to try and get it on. I'm going to try and find some. It's like, just cross it off. Whew. Do what's important. Do what's powerful. Do what's calling your heart to do. And therein lies the great gift. Turns out if you do enough of what you want to do and you create wealth in your life, you can hire people that do all that crap. Oops, sorry. All that stuff. Forget where I am sometimes. Right? It's cool. That power, that focus, that clarity that comes from choosing wisely just says, yes, this is mine to do and I will do it. And the power and clarity and focus that comes from saying, this is not mine to do, and therefore I will waste no more energy with it. It's amazing what begins to happen. As we're looking at living more boldly, at living more powerfully, this is a huge tool. You get to be a choice. You get to have the life that you want, and the life, more importantly, that you choose. So my invitation is that we really start to look at this. I would invite you to be hopeful, but give up hope as a strategy for creating the life you want. Right? I would invite you to give up trying to do or to not do. I would invite you to give up maybe and move to yes or to no. Now, this may mean you may have to have some important conversations. I recognize that. You may be hanging out in a relationship that is a huge maybe. You know what I'm talking about? You've been in that relationship, haven't you? Yeah. Like, yeah, right? Am I getting too close to home? Would you like me to talk abstract again? You may need to make some choices about your life, about your time, about your energy, because it's so easy to hang out in trying and maybe and someday. You know, this wonderful paradise that we all seem to aspire at some level to live in called Someday Isle. And you know, in Someday Isle, life is beautiful, life is perfect, life is wonderful, loving, supportive, nurturing relationships, lots of money, and someday I'll visit Someday Isle. Well, for now, living here on planet Utah, planet Earth, it's about the choices that we make. So I invite you to choose wisely, to recognize that you are the power and the authority in your life, that you have the capacity backed by a universal intelligence to create what you want. But we have to come to clarity, we have to come to conviction, and we have to make the commitment to expand that life. So invite you to make powerful choices. I'm even going to give you some homework this week. And I'm going to invite you that if somebody asks you to do something you don't want to do, to say no. Let's all practice. No. Wow. See? Now, if you need to, because I know some of you need to, you can say no, thank you. Okay? That'll make it a little easier to transition into this way of being. You can say no, thank you. But let that be a complete sentence. You don't care if you have to wash your hair, groom your dog, do whatever, right? Just say no. And feel the power that comes from that. So that then, when your no is true and authentic, your yes becomes powerful. The universe starts to get, oh, they're serious now. And all kinds of wonderful things happen. You up for it? Yeah. Okay. We're going to report back next week. And anybody that fails comes up on stage and I will humiliate and shame you. See how I like that? Yes. Isn't that great? It's good. Here's what I want you to know. You are a powerful being. You are created in the image and in the likeness of the divine essence itself. You have the capacity to be co-creative with this divine intelligence. You have the right to ask for what you want, and you also have the right to eliminate what isn't good from you for your life. That's who you are. So when you begin to own that and establish that and honor that, then you can live from that place of power so that, as Jesus said, let your yes be yes, or let your no be no. I won't spew you out of my mouth. That, I just want you to know that's a possibility, right? Just that authentic, integrous way of living, of showing up for who you truly are, of allowing the divine to work through us powerfully and expansively. And I want you to know that you are loved and you are supported in being fully who you are. Let us pray. As we turn inward, honoring and acknowledging this one divine life, this one infinite power, we're recognizing that there is indeed one intelligence, one life, one being, one divine presence. Whatever name we choose to call it, it is the one. We recognize that the one living intelligence that creates all, everything from the universe to the galaxies to the planets to the flowers to the breath that we breathe, all animated and supported by the one life. I choose to call it the divine. And I know this divine intelligence is working through me and as me. That in this presence I live and move and have my being. And therefore, this word that I speak has power. And I speak it with clarity and conviction. For I know a universal intelligence is forming itself through the word that we speak here, through the consciousness that we establish. And so I'm inviting us in this moment to open our hearts to divine love, to absolute unconditional love. As Dr. Holmes said, the self-givingness, love is the self-givingness of spirit. That which pours itself into existence, that which holds no judgment, that which only knows itself by becoming that which it has created. And so we open our hearts to experience the presence of divine love, to realize the truth of who we are, to see from a higher perspective, as we recognize those things that we call mistakes are simply a part of life unfolding. And so we choose to forgive ourselves, we choose to forgive those who we perceived as harmed us. We enter into that state of grace and knowing that divine love heals and conquers all. We allow ourselves to experience our inherent wholeness. That wholeness is a quality of the divine that is always in perfect harmony with itself. And so I'm knowing right here and right now that that wholeness reveals itself through our physical being, through our emotional being, through our spiritual being. At every level, wholeness makes itself known as health, well-being, as vitality. I'm knowing that we are right here, right now, abundant beings. For we are one with the source, the substance of all that is. And so we open our capacity to give generously. We open our capacity to receive unconditionally. We allow ourselves to experience the abundance, the divine flow in and through and as every aspect of our life. How good it is to stand in this awareness, to be present and available for that which is always saying yes to us. And so I know that as we move forward from this day, we do so powerfully, releasing that which no longer serves us and accepting our divine inheritance, our own magnificence. It is good. We are blessed. And so we take a moment to extend a blessing as we bless this spiritual community. For I know that it is a divine idea unfolding, serving a greater good, bringing light to what appears to be darkness, bringing love to where there appears to be hurt, bringing joy where there once was sorrow. And as we extend this blessing, we bless our brothers and sisters around the planet. We bless the planet itself with all of her inhabitants, all of her creatures, all of creation. We're sensing and feeling and knowing that high vision for a planet at peace, for a world that works for all. Speaking the word of truth, accepting grace, love, joy. And as always, we extend a blessing to all priests, all rabbis, all ministers, teachers of every faith and all traditions. For we know that there are many pathways to the divine. And where there's greater spiritual understanding, greater spiritual unfoldment, we name that good and we bless it as so. In joy and gratitude, I'm simply grateful. I'm grateful for this inner spiritual realization. I'm grateful for a law of mind that operates upon the consciousness that we establish here, bringing forth the highest good for all in perfect timing and in divine right order. So with great joy and profound gratitude, I simply release this word, knowing that it is so, as together we say, and so it is.